Right, good morning. And this is the second video on the texecom alarm panel. As you know, I'm mainly into my CCTV, but about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I decided I wanted an alarm on the house. So after a bit of research, I decided to go with texecom, mainly because they're a UK company. Now this company just specialises in alarms. They haven't got their hands in every sort of pie. They specialise in alarms, whether it be panels. In fact, we'll have a look on the right hand side. We have control panels, which is what this is. Think of this as your motherboard, what you would find in a PC. That's basically your motherboard. Looks quite simple, doesn't it? So anyway, they do the control panels, keypads. I'm just trying to see if you can actually see this. I should have done this on the bigger screen. Keypads, expanders, communication devices, communication add-ons I should say, power supplies, access control. They also do a range of software, and of course they do motion detectors, perimeter detectors, fire detectors. It should be noted that they don't do fire alarm panels as such. They sell fire detectors, which also connect to, I'm not sure what, if the fire detectors connect to all of their range of fire alarm panels, but I do know they connect to the Premier Elite range of panels. External sounders, bell boxes. Now all them above sections up here are mostly wired. They then do wireless systems, other wireless add-ons, wireless kits. You can also get add-ons to make a wired kit wireless. If you're in the industry and install these things for a living, they will also brand your products with your own logo, integration partners and mobile apps, whether that be for Android or iPhone. And don't worry, we will get in all of these in later videos. I don't have any experience with the mobile apps, but in the past half an hour I have just purchased all 3 apps, ranging, one of them was 69p, I think the other one was £2.99, and I'm not sure on the other. Basically £5 to £6 would get you all these apps to use from your mobile phone or iPad, but we'll go into that later. First thing I want to show you is their range of panels. Now they do everything from a basic, well I don't know if basic is the right word, I certainly wouldn't call any of their products basic, but they start off with what they call the Veritas series. If you read there, it tells you what that product is designed for. I'm not going to read it out, we'll leave it there, but it's mainly for residential homes, small installations. In fact, they are even saying simple operation. And there's some typical applications there. Now the reason I didn't go with the Veritas is because I thought it was a little bit simple and basic. You know me, I do not do simple and basic. So I decided against using the basic range of panels. But, of course, it is perfectly fine to use one of them Veritas panels if you are considering alarming your house. More than adequate. What else? The Premier series, which is now discontinued. You can still buy them, but they upgraded their Premier series. If you remember in the earlier video, I had a Premier 48, and if you also remember, I decided I wasn't going to fit anything outdated, so I bought a Premier Elite panel. I'll give you a read of what it says here. So as you can see, the Premier Elite range is their top of the range product, the most advanced electronic security solution that this company has to offer. There's the typical applications. Now obviously, if a hospital, a museum and a bank in commercial buildings, if that Premier Elite panel is good enough for them and trusted to be used in them sort of installations, then it is certainly good enough for me, and maybe that will explain why I went with the Premier Elite, because I wanted top of the range. As you know, I do not use basic rubbish CCTV equipment, and I would never dream of using it. And you also know that the only reason I use that high-end equipment is thanks to eBay, so I can get my hands on that sort of equipment. It should also be noted that I also paid for this panel. Texecom have not sent me this panel. I have bought that myself. But they did send me they sent me free of charge a flashing tool. Now I might and I might not do a video on the flashing tool at a later date, because if you have one of these panels or any other panel and you try to update the firmware, things can go wrong, just like with any other product where you upgrade the firmware. So I don't know if I want to touch on that. I'm quite happy to upgrade my firmware. Not that I need to, because this panel must have come recently from the factory, as it already has the latest firmware on it. So I don't need to do that. But I might show you in a later video. Right, what else? The Premier Elite series. Let's have a look. We're going to control panels. And this is the full product lineup. There's the Veritas at the bottom. And this is the Premier Elite at the top. As you can see, I bought the 88, and there's only 2 models above it. As far as I'm aware, the models that are above don't have really any extra features to what mine does. It's to how many zones etc. you can expand these control panels up to. Right, let's have a look at the product range. I'm only going to concentrate on the one I bought. In fact, there's the Premier 640. That's what that does. 640 zones, 64 areas. That is just a crazy amount of zones and areas. You certainly would never use all them in a house. Well, you might if you lived in a mansion and you were a rock star, I suppose you might have one of them. Well, let's calm down. And there we have the panel I purchased. So it has 8 on-board zones, also the Premier 48 does. 8 zones means you can connect 8 sensors, whether that be PIRs, door contacts, vibration sensors, you name it. 8 zones should be enough for the vast majority of standard, say 3 bedroom houses. 8 zones should be enough, but of course if it's not, you can always add an expander which will give you another 8 zones. But if you only require another 2 zones, so you have 10 zones in total, it should be noted that the keypads are the thing that you put your code in to disarm the system. Each keypad also has 2 zones, additional zones. So once the keypad is attached to there, you have your 8 onboard zones, and your keypad gives you an additional 2 zones. So this is the features of the Premier Elite 88. Grade 3, now that is something to do with, I'm not fully sure because I don't need to know about that, and neither do you. It's something what these engineers fit these panels to a certain standard. Obviously if they're going in high-end places, a bank, etc., they have to meet standards because these engineers of course go on training courses and their industry fit these products to certain grades. Right, so as you can see, it has 8 zones expandable to 88, 8 areas, 100 user codes which we'll never use, 1000 events, blah blah blah, various plug-ons, add-ons, etc, etc. Most of them the standard home user will never use. What else have we got? But anyway, that's Texecom's website, and you can have a look through there, and I highly recommend their products. There's the flashing tool there, and as well as obviously the panel, the motherboard, they then sell keypads. I'm not going to go too far into the keypads. They are what they are. You have very nice metal polished keypads. Some very nice looking ones. And they also do your standard basic ones as well. A keypad is a keypad. As I was just telling you about before, you see there, 2 additional zones. So I don't know, if you wanted your shed alarmed or an outbuilding, you could run one cable to the shed to connect your keypad back to wherever your panel is. You could then connect a PIR and a door contact or whatever to that keypad for your shed, for example. But it's very handy having the two additional zones. You may have the keypad in your whole hallway, and rather than run a cable back from your front door to wherever your control panel is, you could have that keypad mounted near your front door, and you could have a door contact from the front door going straight to that keypad, rather than on a 10, 20, 30 metre cable back to wherever you have located your control panel. So it's very handy that you can add two extra devices to the keypad. Now I have two keypads. I'm not sure, I do have just the plastic ones, but I'm not sure what models they have, but don't worry, we will show you them in a later video. So there's the keypads. Let's go back. Expanders. You can of course go to their Texecom's website, www.texe.com, if you want to have a look at these yourselves. I'm just going to have a quick run through. I'm just going to touch on the products I'm going to use. There you can see there's the 8-zone expander. It doesn't just give you 8 zones, it gives you quite a few outputs, etc, etc, etc. So that's expanders. Communication devices. Now the beauty about these, ladies and gentlemen, is you can have your alarm panel, well definitely the Premier range, the Premier Elite range, connected to the internet, your internal network, or you can even buy an add-on with a mobile phone SIM card to connect it that way. Or you can just have it connected to your phone line for basic control. You know me, basic is no good for me. The JSCom device is too expensive, and we're also dealing with SIM cards and mobile phone masts, etc. Not very clever in my opinion. If anybody uses a slow on their phone, a slow internet connection. So the best option for me was the Premier Elite Com. So I purchased one of them. I have it in the box, and of course you will see me in a video connecting that to the panel, and we'll go into that further when I actually connect it. But that is going to connect my Premier Elite panel to the internal network, and it's also going to let me access the panel from the internet anywhere in the world. I can monitor my alarm on the laptop, control the alarm via the laptop over the internet from outside the house, and of course as this product connects my alarm panel to the internet, I can then use my mobile phone apps when I'm out and about as well. Again, we'll show you all that as well. Now then, once you have your control panel, of course you need a keypad. Or you might even need two keypads. In fact, you will probably need two keypads. but it's up to you. I think I'm not sure on the limit of keypads, you'll have to check yourself. Alright, so we've done the expanders, done the power supplies. You probably, if you're just fitting your panel in a home setting, you probably won't need one of these. Basically it gives you extra power, another power source, and well, the top one also comes on with 8 onboard zones. And yes, of course, knowing me, I do have one of these on its way to me. And I probably won't use it, but you know me, I like to have these toys, these gadgets. I purchased one. The older one, the Premier, well, the Premier 48, I think it only had 1.5 amps, which isn't a great deal. But luckily, on the new one, we have, I think it is actually a 2, and I'm struggling to say, I think it's 2.5 amp. No, it's not. Well, we give them 13.7 volts. That's 3 amps, I think we'll have. Yeah, so we've got an onboard 3 amp power supply anyway. Or was it 2.5? I'm not sure. It's about 2.5 amps. Now you would probably use one of these expanders if you, so for example, if you wanted 16 zones, loads of bell boxes, etc. Because every sensor, sounder, bell box you plug into the motherboard, the control panel, all them devices get their power from this panel. Now then, no alarm panel is complete. We're not going to touch on access control software. Well, I might run into this. Well, in fact, we'll have to show you the software in another video because we're going to be using that. But anyway, let's get into it. Motion detection, of course. Everybody will know what these are. These are your PIOs, all different things. There's a slight difference in all them PIOs. I'm not going to go through what they all do. Needless to say, I will be using, in fact, which ones have I got? I will be fitting these in my house. Prestige series AMDT plus anti-masking dual technology. We'll go into these in another video, but that's what I'm going to be fitting for my internal PIOs. Perimeter detection devices. Now then, and also that's made by Texecom as well. Now these other devices, vibration detection, you stick them on your window frames, door frames, whatever you want, and they should send a signal back to the alarm panel should they detect shocks, vibrations on the window frame, etc. And they have variable sensitivity. Now then, I'm not using texecom vibration detectors, and the reason being is because you people know that I use eBay to get all my products. Luckily enough, I was lucky enough to get a box of 10 of these at a very reasonable price off eBay. That's why I bought them. It should be noted that you don't have to use the manufacturer of the alarm panel's accessories. You can use any PIR, any sensor, etc. But I'm just sticking with Texecom. There is, of course, there's other brands, but I'm not going to mention them. In fact, I'm going to have to mention them to show you the sensors. I'm trying to find a vibration detector. Here we go. Viper. I'll be using these. That's your vibration detector. Now the only reason I bought them is because they're brand new, somebody had them on eBay and was selling them for £3. And the reason being is they are brown. Not a very nice colour. I would have preferred white, but I like my bargains, so I thought sod it. I bought them because they were brown and they were cheap. I would have liked white. But anyway, there's the texecom range. That one's got a magnetic contact. Also, you can get brake glass sensors, detectors. Just going to quickly run through this. I don't want to spend too much time. You can look yourself. But we've done. What's happened there? Fire detectors, which connect your alarm panel. Now I did go with texecom for these. What did I get? Let's move some of these out of the way. So hard to hold hand. There we have texecom detector, fire detector. Now that's the blue one, so it's the Exodus OH. Now this one does not go in the kitchen. This one's for general living areas. Of course, if I was to put this in the kitchen, the thing would get activated every time I was to burn my toast, etc, etc. You know how annoying standard smoke alarms can be. But of course you can get ones that will go in your kitchen. See, because some of them other detectors aren't really looking for smoke, they're looking for heat. So if that one there, for example, picks up temperatures above 64 degrees, it will activate. Or maybe you're going to have to look into this because I've never looked into them. but it is, some will go into smoky areas. They all serve different purposes. As I say, I went with the Exodus. We'll probably put that. Maybe just put it on the downstairs landing or somewhere. Anyway, that's that. External sounders, bell boxes. These are the things that connect on your outside wall, make a loud noise and flash their lights, etc. I've got one of them, the Odyssey 4. That will be going on my house. I also bought an Odyssey 1. So I have two bell boxes, sounders, one for the front of the house and one for the rear. But anyway, that's that. I suggest you have a look on Texecom's website, and I highly recommend their products. Right, just tidied them things away. Right, so anyway, onto the panel. The motherboard. And that's the earth strap that connects to the front of the case. I just disconnected that, so I didn't have to bring the front panel of the alarm over. Right, because I was testing the panel earlier, I connected it with my little short length of cable. So you've got 240 volt going in. And remember, be careful with 240, don't mess about with it. Watch what you're doing. So you've got 240 coming in, earthed of course. That then feeds the internal power supply. And as you know, that is outputting 13 volts. So that there takes 240, drops it down to 12. Wait, we'll be accurate, 13.7 minus plus 2 volt. And I'm sure this was only supposed to be 2.5 amps. In fact, I'm actually going to check. We will find out one way or another. Where is it? Premier League 48, is that going to tell me? It's not, you know. It's got to tell you somewhere, surely. Right, yes, it is. It's 2.5 amps. Anyway, usable. Right. Of course, this thing's battery backed up, which also have a 12 volt battery, 7 amp. So the panel will charge the battery, will monitor the battery, and in the event of a mains power failure, that will switch over to battery in a blink of an eye. I'm not going to go into too much. Various outputs down the side. I will be using some of them. Network, that's where your keypad's connecting to. Pardon me. Your is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Your bell box outputs, speakers, we've got a relay up there as well. Looks quite simple, doesn't it? But I can assure you this is far from simple. Communication port, I connect into there by the USB. And the USB, your PC. Can't really show you a great deal at the minute because I've got nothing connected, but I will very soon. Well, that's a brief introduction to the Premier Elite.